Senior researcher Sixtel stood proudly before the Scathari Council of Elders, her iridescent scales gleaming under the chamber's crystalline lights. The presentation screens behind her displayed images of Earth's children playing in parks, learning in schools, and helping their grandparents. "Our solution to the eldercare crisis is elegant in its simplicity," she announced, gesturing to the data streams. "Human offspring demonstrate remarkable adaptability and cognitive development. Their natural inclination to assist older members of their species makes them ideal candidates for Project Caretaker." The council members bobbed their elongated heads in approval. The statistics were compelling. 50% of their population would require intensive care within the next solar cycle, and their automated systems were proving inadequate for the complex emotional and social needs of their elderly. "What of their progenitors?" asked Council Member Venerx, their protective inner eyelid flickering with concern. Zixtal waved a dismissive tendril. "Humans reproduce frequently. Our research indicates they often maintain multiple offspring. The carefully selected removal of 100 specimens should cause minimal disruption to their society's functionality." The collection ships deployed that night, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them invisible to Earth's primitive tracking systems, or so they thought. Sarah Chen was reading under her favorite oak tree in Central Park when the air shimmered strangely around her. The 10-year-old barely had time to grab her backpack before the teleportation beam engaged. Her copy of The Physics of Star Trek fell to the ground, pages fluttering in the autumn breeze. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. A boy vanished from a soccer field in Brazil, his ball rolling to a stop against an empty goal. Twin sisters disappeared from their backyard in suburban Australia, leaving half-built robot projects scattered across the lawn. A young chess champion in Russia faded away between moves at a tournament, his timer still counting down. In the collection ship's holding area, Sarah studied her surroundings with keen interest rather than fear. The other children were arriving in rapid succession, some crying, others strangely calm. She unzipped her backpack, pleased to find her tablet and emergency snacks still inside. Her parents had always taught her to be prepared for anything. Back in the council chamber, Zixtal received the first success reports with satisfaction. The collection proceeded exactly as planned. 100 specimens acquired with zero detection by Earth's authorities. A junior analyst burst into the chamber, their scales pale with agitation. "Honored Council, we're detecting unusual patterns in Earth's communication networks." "Expected emotional responses," Zixtal assured the Council. "They will normalize within their standard diurnal cycle." The analyst's tendrils twisted nervously. "The patterns are different. Military channels have gone silent. Civilian networks are sharing information at unprecedented rates. And," they hesitated, "we're detecting massive power surges from facilities that were previously dormant." On Earth, Sarah's mother stood in Central Park, holding her daughter's book with trembling hands. As chief of network security at a major tech company, she'd already recognized the energy signature in the air. Her phone rang. It was her husband, calling from his classified research facility at Dara, PA. "They took our baby," she said, her voice steel cold. "I know," he replied. "The quantum detection grid caught their signature. You're not going to believe this, but I'm getting calls from counterparts in Russia, China, and India. Everyone's reporting missing children." "Good," she said, already walking toward her office. "That means we work together. How long before you can get me access to those deep space tracking systems you pretend don't exist?" "Already done. The entire network's been redirected. Helen, we're not alone anymore." "No," she agreed, watching military vehicles converge on the park. "And neither is our daughter." In high orbit, the Scathari ships accelerated toward their homeworld, carrying their precious cargo of future caretakers. They remained blissfully unaware that in picking their targets, they'd managed to take the children of Earth's top scientists, military leaders, and tech innovators. They would learn. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos stared at her screen in the Pentagon's newly activated Deep Space Monitoring Center, watching as centuries of human conflict transformed into unprecedented cooperation. Her headset buzzed with updates from across the globe. The Russians just shared their entire Black Project database, she announced to the crowded command center. Chinese quantum computers are interfacing with Silicon Valley AI systems. The Indians are redirecting their entire satellite network. General Chen, Sarah's grandfather, stood behind her, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays. What do we have on the abductor's signatures? Sir, they're like nothing we've seen before, but Maria smiled grimly. They're not as stealthy as they think. Dr. Chen's quantum detection grid picked up their warp signature. They're heading toward the Orion Arm. In Moscow, Dmitry Petrov slammed his fist on his desk at the Russian Space Agency. His son Ivan's chess pieces still lay scattered across their family's kitchen table. The Americans are right, he declared to his colleagues. We've all been pointing our best technology at each other when we should have been looking up. Screens lit up across his office as classified files streamed in from every major space program on Earth. Hidden telescope arrays, experimental propulsion systems, gravity wave detectors. Decades of secret research suddenly shared freely among former rivals. At the United Nations, an emergency session had transformed into a war council. Ambassador Lai Wei, her granddaughter among the taken, addressed the assembly. For centuries, we feared alien contact would divide us. Instead, they've given us the strongest possible reason to unite. They took our children. The chamber erupted in unified agreement. Ancient enemies shared intelligence. Wartime adversaries offered military resources. Every nation with space capability redirected their assets toward a single goal. In low Earth orbit, supposedly civilian satellites began transforming. Solar panels retracted, revealing advanced sensors. Weather monitoring equipment reconfigured into tracking arrays. A Japanese communications satellite unfolded into a fully equipped detection platform. Sarah's mother, Dr. Emily Chen, had turned her tech company's entire server farm into a code-breaking supercomputer. Her team worked alongside hackers from 30 countries, all focused on cracking the alien ship's communication frequencies. They're using some kind of quantum encryption, one of her analysts reported. Emily didn't look up from her screens. And we have 50 quantum computing labs working together for the first time in history. Keep pushing. In Kazakhstan, the massive doors of the Baikonur Cosmodrome rolled open, revealing not the expected civilian rockets, but sleek vessels of unmistakably military design. Similar scenes played out at Cape Canaveral, Juquan, and other launch sites across the globe. The Skteri observation post near Jupiter registered the activity with growing alarm. The humans are mobilizing on an unprecedented scale, the observer reported to their superiors. Their technology. It's far beyond our initial assessments. Impossible. Zixtal dismissed the warning. They were launching primitive chemical rockets just last solar cycle. Honored researcher, the observer's tendrils writhed anxiously. They were letting us see what they wanted us to see. We're detecting energy signatures that suggest they've had faster-than-light capability for at least a decade. In a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. James Chen ran his hand along the sleek hull of humanity's first FTL-capable warship. She's ready, he told the international crew. The Retribution will launch in 6 hours. His wife's voice came through his secure comm. The quantum tracking is locked, James. We know exactly where they're taking our daughter. Above Earth, the first wave of humanity's hidden fleet emerged from their camouflaged hangars. Each ship bore the name of a taken child, their hulls gleaming with technology the Skteri had never imagined humans possessing. In the council chamber, the junior analyst's scales had turned almost white. Honored Council, I believe we may have made a terrible mistake. Zixtal watched the incoming data with growing horror. The humans weren't just angry. They were coming. The Galactic Council's grand chamber glittered with the bioluminescence of 1,000 different species. Ambassador Xanter of the Arxer settled their ancient frame into the speaker's podium, faceted eyes scanning the assembled representatives. Centuries of diplomatic experience hadn't prepared them for this day. Esteemed colleagues, they began, we face an unprecedented situation. The Sktheri Collective's recent acquisition of human specimens requires immediate attention. Zixtal stepped forward, her scales shimmering with confidence. The collective has already filed the appropriate documentation for a Class 3 civilization cultural integration project. All protocols were followed. The chamber's crystal displays activated, showing the Sktheri's carefully prepared presentations about their eldercare initiative. Several council members nodded appreciatively at the detailed charts and projections. Then the chamber's emergency alert system chimed. Incoming transmission, announced the AI administrator. Origin, Sol System, Classification, Priority 1. The displays shifted, and the chamber fell silent. The image showed a simple conference room, where representatives from Earth's major powers sat together. Their faces carried none of the confusion or awe typically seen in first contact situations. Greetings, Galactic Council. Ambassador Lai Wei began, her voice steady. We'll be brief. 100 of our children were taken. Return them immediately, or we will retrieve them ourselves. Zixtal moved to speak, but Xanter raised a warning tendril. The ancient diplomat recognized something in the human's demeanor that their younger colleague had missed. The human transmission continued, switching to a military officer. To demonstrate our seriousness, we're sharing a small sample of our capabilities. The displays split, showing multiple views of Earth's orbital space. Council members watched in stunned silence as hundreds of advanced warships emerged from their hidden configurations. The vessel's energy signatures matched nothing in galactic databases. Impossible, a Sktheri scientist protested. Their technological level was carefully assessed. They were decades from achieving spaceflight beyond their solar system. Ambassador Lai Wei smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. We have a saying on Earth. Never come between a parent and their child. You're about to understand why. Xanter activated their private connection to the Arxer Historical Archives. Honored Council, there's something you need to see. The displays shifted again, showing historical footage from Earth. Council members watched in growing unease as scenes played out. A mother lifting a ground transport vehicle to save her trapped child. A father running into a burning building. Parents donating organs, crossing deserts, defying dictators, all for their children. This is their baseline behavior, Xanter explained. For their own offspring. Now imagine what they'll do when provoked. The chamber erupted in overlapping translations as species across the galaxy began grasping the situation's gravity. The Sktheri delegation's confidence visibly wilted. A new alert chimed. Multiple human vessels have breached the Oort cloud boundary, the AI reported. Their propulsion systems are unknown to our databases. Xanter turned their ancient eyes to Zixtal. You classified them as a Class 3 civilization because they showed you what they wanted you to see. Did it never occur to you to ask why a species would hide their true capabilities? Before she could answer, the displays changed again. Thousands of points of light appeared, representing human ships emerging from hidden installations across their solar system. Each vessel's name flashed in galactic standard. FTL carrier Sarah Chen, FTL carrier Ivan Petrov, FTL carrier Maria Rodriguez. The names of all 100 taken children, each carried by a ship that shouldn't have existed. In the stunned silence, Xanter addressed the council. I move for an immediate emergency session to facilitate the return of the human offspring. Unless they added, their voice carrying centuries of diplomatic wisdom, we wish to discover exactly what happens when an entire species decides their children are worth going to war over. The motion passed unanimously. Unfortunately, humanity's fleet was already on the move. They weren't interested in waiting for diplomacy. Dr. Emily Chen sat in the command center of the FTL carrier Sarah Chen, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The ship's quantum computers hummed around her, interfacing with systems that the Sktheri thought impossible for humans to create. Their encryption is good, she murmured, eyes reflecting streams of alien code. But they never had to defend against someone with a personal reason to break it. Around her, the carrier's bridge buzzed with activity. The crew, a multinational team of Earth's finest, worked with practiced efficiency that would have shocked their alien observers. These weren't primitive humans stumbling into space. This was a crew that had trained in secret for years. Multiple Scatheri vessels detected, announced the sensor officer. Their stealth systems are active, but Emily allowed herself a small smile. But they don't know we can see through them. Show me. The main display lit up, revealing dozens of Scatheri ships trying to hide in the shadow of a gas giant. Their advanced cloaking technology would have fooled most species. Unfortunately for them, humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment. The tactical officer, a former Russian submarine commander, studied the pattern. They're protecting something. That station in the 7th orbit, its energy signature matches the teleportation technology used to take the children. Emily opened a secure channel to the rest of Earth's fleet. All ships, this is Carrier Chen. We've located a primary target. Remember the mission parameters: precise, surgical, and absolutely no harm to any facility that might hold our children. Acknowledgements came in from the other carriers, each named for a taken child, each crewed by people with personal stakes in the mission. In the Scatheri command center, alarms began blaring. "Impossible," exclaimed the security chief. "The humans are decoding our quantum encryption. They're moving through our defenses like they built them." Zixtal watched in horror as system after system fell to the human cyber assault. How are they doing this? Their technology was primitive just days ago. A junior analyst, reviewing the intrusion patterns, paled. "Honored researcher, these attack signatures. They're coming from individual stations. Each one appears to be a parent of one of the specimens." On the bridge of the Ivan Petrov, Dmitry coordinated with his son's carrier's cyber warfare team. Years of international chess championships had taught him to think several moves ahead. The Scatheri's defensive algorithms were good, but they'd never faced human parents with advanced degrees in computer science and a personal mission. The alien's supposedly unbreakable quantum encryption lasted exactly 6 hours against Earth's combined cyber warfare capabilities. As their final firewalls fell, the Scatheri received a simple message in their own language. "Next time, ask nicely." Admiral James Chen, commanding the fleet from the Sarah Chen, watched as the human ships moved into their final attack positions. The formation was unlike anything in galactic military doctrine. A blend of Earth naval traditions, chess strategies, and formations inspired by parents organizing school pickup zones. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They're offering to negotiate." James thought of his daughter's empty bedroom, her half-finished science project still on her desk. "Tell them we're happy to negotiate. After we get our kids back." The first wave of Earth ships emerged from their stealth modes, revealing designs that incorporated technology the Scatheri had thought impossible for humanity to develop. Each vessel bore the name of a taken child in glowing letters, a reminder of why Earth's most brilliant minds had spent decades preparing in secret. In her holding cell aboard the Scatheri station, Sarah Chen looked up from the makeshift science club she'd organized among the captured children. She smiled as the facility's lights flickered. "Right on time, Mom and Dad," she whispered, pulling out the tablet she'd managed to keep hidden. "Now let me help you find us." Ambassador Xanter's private chamber aboard the Galactic Council station had become an impromptu command center. Representatives from 17 species crowded around displays, showing the human fleet's advance through Scatheri space. "Remarkable," murmured the Centaurian delegate, their crystalline form reflecting the tactical displays. "Their ships aren't just advanced, they're elegant. Look at how they adapt their formation to the local space-time distortions." The Proximan military attaché nodded in agreement. "They're not using brute force. Each move is precise, calculated. They're not here to fight a war. They're conducting a rescue operation. Xanter studied the latest diplomatic reports. Across the galaxy, species were scrambling to distance themselves from the Xtheri. Some went further, actively offering assistance to the humans. The Andromedans had shared detailed star charts of Xtheri space. The Pleiades Confederation provided access to their quantum communication network. Even the notoriously secretive Vega Collective had transmitted the access codes to their sensor arrays. They see what we failed to notice, Xanter observed. The humans weren't hiding their technology out of fear or isolationism. They were being patient, waiting to see if we'd be friends or threats. On the main display, Admiral Chen's fleet executed another impossibly precise maneuver. The Xtheri defense grid, supposedly the most advanced in the sector, couldn't track them. A junior aide burst into the chamber. Urgent update from Research Division. We've completed the analysis of human historical records. You need to see this immediately. The display shifted, showing scenes from Earth's past. A father running into a burning building to save his daughter. A mother lifting a crashed vehicle to free her son. Parents crossing oceans, scaling mountains, defying authorities, all for their children. These aren't exceptional cases, the aide explained. This is standard human behavior regarding their offspring. And now we've given them faster-than-light technology and a reason to use it. Xanter finished. Their faceted eyes turned to the Xtheri representative. You didn't just take their children. You gave them a cause. In the Council's main chamber, the emergency session continued. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive now watched in awe as Earth's fleet demonstrated mastery of technologies they'd thought impossible to combine. The Syrian delegate raised a valid point. Why didn't they join the galactic community earlier? With this level of technology, Ambassador Lai Wei's response came through on all channels. We were waiting to see what kind of neighbors we had. Now we know. Some of you will be excellent friends and allies. Others, she let the implication hang. Aboard the Sarah Chen, Dr. Emily Chen received another flood of alien technical data. Species across the galaxy, seeing humanity's true capabilities, were eager to establish good relations. They're sharing their shield frequencies, her tactical officer reported. Navigation data, defense codes, half the galaxy wants to help us rescue our kids. Emily's fingers danced across her console, integrating the new information. They're learning an important lesson. If you want humanity's friendship, you start by respecting our families. In the Xtheri holding facility, the children felt the station's artificial gravity fluctuate. Sarah Chen looked up from her improvised science lesson with the other kids, a knowing smile on her face. My mom's in the system, she announced to her fellow captives. She always said she'd ground me if I got into trouble. Guess it's the space station that's getting grounded instead. The Galactic Council voted unanimously to sanction the Xtheri and provide full assistance to the human rescue operation. As the results were announced, Xanter noticed something fascinating on the tactical displays. The human fleet wasn't just advancing. It was creating a new template for space warfare. Their formations flowed like water, adapted like living things, struck like lightning, all with a precision born from a single purpose, bringing their children home. Remember this day, Xanter announced to the chamber. When humanity finally reveals their full potential to the galaxy, let it be recorded that we earned their friendship by helping them protect what they value most. Senior caretaker Vixna rubbed their aching head tendrils as another alarm blared through the holding facility. What are they doing now? They asked the monitoring technician, dreading the answer. The specimens have reorganized their living quarters again, the technician reported, gesturing at the surveillance feeds. They're calling it Cabin Fever Olympics and somehow convinced the environmental controls to play something called Eye of the Tiger on repeat. Sarah Chen stood in the middle of what used to be an orderly dormitory section. The furniture had been transformed into an elaborate obstacle course, with children from different countries teaching each other their favorite playground games. Next up, she announced, holding her tablet like a microphone. Ivan will demonstrate the proper technique for using anti-gravity fluctuations to achieve maximum height in space hopscotch. The young Russian chess champion grinned, waiting for the artificial gravity to cycle. He'd memorized the pattern days ago. The key is timing, he explained to his audience. Just like in chess, you have to think 3 moves ahead. In the facility's control center, the Scatheri staff watched in bewilderment as their carefully planned routine dissolved into organized chaos. The specimens were supposed to be learning our eldercare protocols, Vixna complained. Instead, they're treating this like something called summer camp. Actually, a junior caretaker interjected, they've been surprisingly attentive to the elderly Scatheri. Watch this feed. The screen showed Maria Rodriguez, age 11, teaching a group of elder Scatheri how to play modified versions of human games. The aliens were thoroughly engaged, their scales shifting colors with excitement as they learned space checkers. They're quite good at caregiving, the junior caretaker noted. They just insist on doing it their way. Sarah's tablet chimed softly. Her mother's latest code had worked. She now had limited access to the facility's communication system. She gathered her core team. Ivan the chess master, the Rodriguez twins with their robotics expertise, and Yuki from Japan, who had already memorized the entire station layout. Mom's in the system, she whispered. Ready for Phase 3. The kids grinned. Phase 1 had been mapping the facility through games. Phase 2 involved making friends with the younger Scatheri staff. Phase 3 was what they'd all been waiting for. In the station's educational center, designed to teach human children about Scatheri culture, the terminal suddenly began running Earth educational software instead. Specifically, every puzzle game, logic challenge, and scientific simulation the kids could remember. We're not just playing games, Sarah explained to a confused Scatheri instructor. We're demonstrating problem-solving methods. See. She pointed to where 30 children were speedrunning portal levels. This is how humans learn spatial reasoning. The Scatheri observers had to admit the children were learning their language and customs remarkably fast. They just hadn't realized it was part of a coordinated effort. Vixna stared at the latest activity report in disbelief. They've started a science fair. Indeed, the main recreation area had transformed into an impromptu exhibition space. Children demonstrated principles of physics using station equipment in ways the Scatheri had never considered. The Rodriguez twins had built a working model of Earth's solar system using spare parts from maintenance robots. Did anyone authorize them to access the fabrication units? Vixna demanded. They didn't access them. The technician responded wearily. They just convinced the units to malfunction in exactly the ways they needed. Sarah surveyed their progress with satisfaction. The Scatheri thought they were seeing children adapt to captivity. In reality, they were watching a coordinated resistance movement run by kids who'd grown up solving puzzles, playing strategy games, and watching their parents work. Mom always said to do my homework, she murmured, sending another coded message through her tablet. And right now, my homework is helping them find us. In the station's central processor, a program began running, designed by Earth's best hackers and translated into a game simple enough for children to implement. The Scatheri would never think to look for a security breach in what appeared to be a kid's coding tutorial. They were about to learn that underestimating human children was just as dangerous as underestimating their parents. Admiral James Chen watched the tactical display aboard the Sarah Chen as Earth's fleet entered the final approach to the Scatheri facility. The formation of ships moved with the precision of a parent threading a needle to remove a splinter. Careful, deliberate, and utterly focused on minimizing discomfort to the precious cargo they sought. Multiple defensive platforms detected, his tactical officer reported, but they're having trouble tracking us. Something's interfering with their targeting systems. James smiled, recognizing the pattern of the interference. That would be my daughter's homework assignment. Inside the facility, Sarah Chen's introduction to coding class was in full swing. 30 children, gathered around educational terminals, appeared to be learning basic programming. In reality, they were implementing the cyber warfare package their parents had sneaked to them, disguised as a simple coding game. "Remember," Sarah instructed, channeling her mother's teaching voice. "Proper indentation is very important in coding. Also, this line here makes their sensors think all spaceships are actually space debris." The Scatheri monitoring staff watched with approval. The specimens were finally showing interest in technical education, though they did wonder why the lesson plan included so many references to stealth systems. On the bridge of the Ivan Petrov, Dmitry Petrov coordinated the fleet's approach vector. Years of chess championships had taught him to think several moves ahead, and now he was applying those skills to space warfare. "The children's interference has created gaps in their sensor network," he announced to the fleet commanders. "Like a chessboard with missing pieces, we can see paths they cannot defend." Dr. Emily Chen, monitoring the cyber battle from her station, watched as her daughter's homework systematically dismantled the Scatheri's remaining digital defenses. The aliens had built impressive security systems. They just hadn't designed them to withstand an attack coordinated by both parents and children. "Main facilities' internal communications are going offline," she reported. "Sarah's science fair project is working perfectly." Inside the facility's control center, Vixna stared in horror as system after system reported unusual behavior. The environmental controls were playing something called space oddity. The artificial gravity was cycling in patterns that somehow matched human dance rhythms, and every screen showed the same message. "Hi, Mom and Dad." "The specimens," a technician reported nervously. "They're not just resisting. They've been preparing for this moment since they arrived." Sarah gathered her fellow captives in the main recreation area, now converted into what she called Mission Control Junior. Her tablet displayed a steady stream of data from the approaching fleet. "Mom's signature hacking style," she explained to Ivan as they monitored the chaos they created. "Break their systems in the nicest way possible. Everything keeps working, just not how they expect it to." The facility shuddered as the first wave of Earth ships took up position around it. On every channel, in perfect Scatheri language, a message played. "This is Earth Fleet Actual. We're here for our kids. Please don't make us do this the hard way." In the Galactic Council chamber, observers watched in awe as human ships executed maneuvers that should have been impossible, guided by the kind of precision that only comes from absolute determination. "Observe carefully," Xantur instructed the gathered representatives. "This is not just a military operation. This is what happens when you give human parents both faster-than-light technology and a reason to use it." The Scatheri High Command, watching their supposedly impregnable facility being systematically undone by a combination of determined parents and resourceful children, finally reached the only possible conclusion. "Open a channel to the Earth fleet," the commander ordered. Tell them we're standing down." And perhaps, they added, watching as their gravity generators began playing what the children called elevator music, "we should apologize." In Mission Control Junior, Sarah Chen looked up at the facility's ceiling and smiled. "Told you my parents would come," she said to no one in particular. "Mom always says she'll ground me if I get into trouble." Guess she meant that pretty literally this time. The reunion took place in what the children had renamed the Friendship Hall of the Scatheri facility. Sarah Chen ran into her parents' arms as Admiral Chen tried to maintain his military composure and failed completely. Dr. Emily Chen held her daughter tight, tears streaming down her face as she checked her tablet one-handed, still running system diagnostics out of habit. "Your coding was excellent," Emily whispered to her daughter. "Though we need to talk about that recursive loop you used in the gravity controls." Sarah grinned. "I learned from the best, Mom." Around them, similar scenes played out as parents found their children. Ivan Petrov was already showing his father the chess variants he created with the Scatheri elders. The Rodriguez twins were excitedly explaining to their mother how they'd reprogrammed the maintenance robots. Xantur watched from the observation deck, their faceted eyes taking in every detail. Beside them, Zixtel stood in contemplative silence. "I still don't understand," the Sktheri researcher admitted. Our eldercare crisis remains unsolved. Our original assessment of human children's caregiving abilities was correct. They are exceptional at it. Indeed, Xantur agreed. But observe how they provide that care. Below, Maria Rodriguez was introducing her parents to an elderly Sktheri she'd been helping. The alien scales shifted in colors of joy as the family immediately included them in their reunion. They care through connection, Xantur explained. Not duty or programming, but genuine bonds. You wanted their capability without understanding its source. In the facility's main recreation area, now serving as an impromptu cultural exchange center, human parents were meeting the Sktheri elders their children had befriended. Scientists from both species were already discussing the children's creative modifications to various station systems. Your daughter, a Sktheri engineer said to Emily Chen, explained quantum mechanics to our maintenance staff using something called Minecraft Redstone. We're still not sure how it worked, but they understand quantum tunneling now. Ambassador Lai Wei, arriving with the diplomatic corps, surveyed the scene with satisfaction. I believe, she announced to the assembled representatives of both species, we have an opportunity here. The Galactic Council's emergency session had transformed into something unprecedented. A joint human Sktheri initiative on intergenerational care. The children, it turned out, had already drafted proposals. See, Sarah explained, pulling up presentations on her tablet. You don't need to take kids from their families. We can set up exchange programs, cultural learning centers, maybe some really cool space summer camps. The Sktheri High Command, watching their supposedly failed specimen acquisition program transform into a groundbreaking diplomatic initiative, found themselves taking notes from a 12-year-old human. We would need to establish proper educational frameworks, Sixtol mused. Their scientific interest peaked. Already done, Ivan called out, pointing to the chessboards where human children and Sktheri elders played together. Cultural exchange through games. Plus, your quantum computers make amazing chess opponents. Admiral Chen, finally composing himself, addressed the gathered aliens. You sought to solve your crisis by taking our children. Instead, you've discovered why that could never work. Human children are remarkable caregivers precisely because they come from families who understand the value of caring. Emily Chen, still holding Sarah's hand, added, so let's start over. This time, we'll show you how humans really solve problems. Together. 1 month later, the Sktheri facility had been transformed into the first Intergalactic Youth Science and Care Academy. Sarah Chen's coding class was now an official course, teaching both human and alien children how to creatively solve problems. Ivan's chess club had expanded to include strategy games from 6 different species. In the Galactic Council chamber, a new saying entered diplomatic records. When seeking help from humans, ask the parents first. To which humanity added their own addendum. And don't underestimate the kids. The Sktheri eldercare crisis found its solution not in the capabilities they tried to take, but in the connections they learned to build. As for the children, they simply added first contact to their list of successful school projects. Sarah Chen got an A+ for her report, titled How I Spent My Week as an Alien Specimen. Her mother did make her fix that recursive loop, though.